And I'm going to show you how to water plants. I have lots of different plants here because I love them all. And I'm going to show you how to water them. So first you're going to need a large pitcher of water. I like to use lukewarm water because you should never water your plants with like cold water, especially if your plants are succulents or if they are plants that are native to hotter areas like this African violet. She actually needs to be pruned. But anyway, these kinds of plants, the leaves will bruise if you water them directly with cold water. But you don't have to like water them in other places or like kind of sneak water them. You can just use warmer water. So I like to water all my plants with the same lukewarm tap water. Some people also use spring water. I ain't got time for that. So warm tap water is fine. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your plants are inside of a tray because it's going to get messy. This one is one that I have hanging. I like to make sure that it has a nice tray so that when I water it, it's not just getting water everywhere. Make sure that you're getting at the roots. If somebody wants. Perfect. All right, so you make sure you're getting the roots. As you can see, she's quite thirsty. You're just gonna get in there with the water and let it seep through, and it should pee out the bottom. That's how you know that the plant is well watered. So you're gonna go ahead a little bit more. And then she should drip out the bottom a bit. And then you can put your finger in to feel like whether or not it's going through the roots, which it is. Speaking of putting your finger in your plants, so this one, which I actually need to resoil, as you can see, she's super dry. Like when you put your finger in, it's nothing but loose gravel. It doesn't hold on to it. When you put your finger in a plant that has been watered, it should stick to your finger. That's how you know she's ready, that she does not need to be watered. So this guy could use a bit more water. And I'm not going to water this plant as much because I do need to resoil it, because as you can see, she's got little pieces coming out because I dropped her. But look, she's peeing. And then you have plants that don't require as much water, like your succulents. They hold on to water more so than your regular leafy plants. So for her, I'm only going to put a little bit in. And then for the rest, I'm just going to mist. I like to keep my mister with me at all times because it just helps when you're getting like the greenery. Like this plant is so lush because I've misted pretty frequently because it's right above my bed. This girl, she's right here, so she never gets misted. And then we have this guy, which is kind of a mix of a succulent and a leafy plant. Really, they're supposed to grow up, but because she's kind of farther away from the sun, she's been growing down, and I really like it. Water her enough, and then plant I water her every week. So it's like these kinds of plants I water every week, whereas these guys I mist every week to 2 weeks. And then cactus or cacti, her little friend is shriveling up, unfortunately, but they get misted once. They get watered once a month, and they get misted once a month. So they get misted at the beginning and watered at the end. That way they don't get overwatered and then they swell up and explode. This one, as you can see, he's really dry and crispy. This is a loose soil plant, so it might take a little bit for the water to drain out. I just kind of wait for it to come out. If I feel like he's not draining all the way, yep, because he's a little bit clogged up in the back, then I will use his water to water another plant. And I have so many plants that it doesn't really matter if it gets anywhere because it's usually going to get onto another plant. Plants like this one, ooh, now he's starting to pee, as you can see. If you feel like you've overwatered your plant too much, which can kill a plant, like if you don't want to overwater it, this is why I only water plants every 2 weeks, you want to make sure that you let the plant dry out completely. If you want to mix more soil into the plant to make sure that it doesn't start to rot, because if you overwater your plants, it'll cause root rot, and that will kill your plant. Similarly, if you are irrigating your plants or propagating your plants in water, like this guy, this was given to me by a friend, and I am starting to propagate it, and he's starting to grow roots, as you can see. There's those little roots. They're a little small and thin. Once I pot this plant in another week or two, the offshoot, or this part that's actually in the water, is going to die, and then it's going to grow new plants that are going to live, because when you propagate a plant in water, the roots aren't very strong. So it's not until you propagate it and you put it into the soil that it will start to grow more vivaciously. So this guy was propagated in water, and the parts that coming out here are starting to die off, but this guy right here is starting to grow out and be really strong. And you can tell that they're new because they have lighter leaves than the darker ones, which are on this other side. And this guy does need a little water, but I'm waiting to water him because I don't want to overwater the plant and overwhelm it because it's starting to grow. So signs that your plant needs to be watered, aside from the soil being very loose, is if you have a bit of browning on the leaves and when you touch them they fall off really. It broke. That's how you know that a plant needs to be watered. However, if your plant is being overwatered, don't think I have a plant that's overwatered right now. This is a good example. This is a young leaf, but it'll kind of look like this. It'll be yellow all the way, and that's how you know that your plant is dying, because you're overwatering it. Typically, since I have a very strict watering schedule, I don't have a problem with overwatering my plants, but like for instance, my aloe plant only needs to be watered like once every 2 months. So she's getting really big because I keep that watering schedule. I don't switch from it. Aloe plants and your cacti are the ones that you need to make sure you're watering properly, because if you don't water them properly, they will get really big, and not in a good way. They'll start to get really bulbous and they will explode, basically, which means the plant will pop and it will just look really nasty and it'll have like rotting pieces everywhere, and nobody wants that. So always be really careful about what your plant looks like. Make sure you have your plant care tips that come with the plant when you get it. Also, make sure you understand like what your leaf would look like, or your foliage is supposed to look like. So for this plant, this is a Pythos. It's supposed to be really long. They're supposed to have nice offshoots. This guy I have kind of like twirled together to make sure that he doesn't, because it's above my bed and I don't want like the plant tickling me while I'm asleep. So he's kind of like intertwined, which means that when he grows, he's going to grow in this kind of like weird section. Look and see what its dead leaves look like. So these are the dead leaves right here. They're mostly at the root, which means that it's just regular dying and decay. It's nothing too bad. When it gets down here and you see your leaves are starting to die, that means you've overwatered your plant. Or it means that you have, if they're starting to be yellow down here, that means you overwatered. If they're starting to be like really crispity and your plant is looking really lifeless, that means you just haven't watered your plant in a while. And once you water her, she'll like perk back up. Plants are like, they're kind of drama queens, because like if they haven't been watered in a while, they'll kind of like look like they're dying and on the edge and like never gonna recover. But once you water them, they're like, I'm back. Thank you. That's all I needed. This one's a great example. Her leaves are starting to curl because I haven't watered her. She actually requires more water than this one, so I need to start like putting her, like spritzing her every other day, so she's getting enough water and she's staying perky. She's not having the same kind of foliage as her friend, because she's technically a Pythos, so she's supposed to have like all this stuff, and she doesn't. She's got like this one lonely leaf and then this weird mullet thing. So I need to like work on watering her more often and spritzing her so she can be as happy as her friend here and her cousin right here, who's gorgeous. That's all I have to say about like watering plants. It's pretty easy. It's just a little bit of plant care tips, because if you don't know how to do it, you'll just end up with dead plants and